All right, straight up to the story that we are closely tracking, the visuals that will just come up for you on your screens. JNU students beaten up by the Delhi police, water cannons used to stall the protest march by these students. The new rule of compulsory 75% attendance by the university has sparked a massive uproar among students and teachers, with them marching towards the parliament to protest. The march was stalled at INA Market. Students were denied permission to continue with the march. Those are the details that are emerging, and those are the visuals there on your screens of these protests. Remember, there are two main issues that the JNU students have been protesting. One, of course, is the 75% attendance issue, and the other is against one of the professors of the university, against whom 8 female students have leveled serious charges, allegations of sexual harassment in various forms. And that professor was then arrested, and only a matter of hours later, he was actually released on bail. And so the students have been protesting the way that case is being handled. And there you can see on your screens the visuals of how water cannons were used on these students who were protesting, trying to make a point. The police used water cannons, and the protest, in fact, did take an ugly turn. In fact, just a few days ago, we saw another protest again on the same issue by the students, where they marched from the JNU campus to Vasant Kunj police station, at the time gherawing the police station and demanding, this is before the arrest of the professor, and students were demanding the arrest of that professor, and they gherawed the entire police station. The scuffle, the protest was on the verge of taking a violent turn. At that point, there were water cannons kept on standby, but they were not used because things did settle down. And just the next day, we actually saw the professor being arrested, but only hours later, he was released on bail. And now today, these students have taken out a fresh protest, marching towards the march was in fact stalled at INA Market, and the students were denied permission to continue with their march. The protest taking an ugly turn, and water cannons actually being used on these students. All right, we've got Khushi, a JNU student, who's joining us on the phone line. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can help us understand what really happened. We, of course, can see the visuals on our screens, but as far as the protests are concerned, if you can tell us what is happening. All right, we've lost Khushi. We will try and reconnect with her to get a sense from a student's perspective as to what is really happening at this point as far as these protests are concerned. We will also try and connect with one of our reporters to try and find out what the status as far as the FIR is concerned, the questioning of the professor. Remember, there are 8 different FIRs that are filed by 8 different students, female students, who have accused this professor of various forms of sexual harassment and been demanding that he get arrested. But he, at this point, is out on bail. All right, we've got Khushi back with us. Hi, Khushi. Thank you for joining us. What would you like to say as far as these protests are concerned, and now the way the police is actually handling it? We can see the visuals on our screens of the way water cannons are being used.
You know, it is extremely, it's infuriating at several levels, and it's also very amusing that how scared are you of students who are peacefully marching on the street? And also the entire way this thing is being covered, and this thing is being primarily shown in media also. It's not like students who are out there for hooliganism or anything. This is after, if you have followed what has been transpiring in JNU, not just now, but over the past 3 years, ever since this administration has come into power. There's been seat cut, GS Cash has been dismantled. You have case of Atul Johari, and he's like right out there. He's already on bail. The last thing we knew was his lawyer disclosed the name of the victim on camera, on national media. And despite of that, when students finally, and it's not that it's only JNU students. It was a call for DUTA has joined, JNUSU is there, JNUTA is there. And it's not only about JNU, it's essentially about dismantling of higher education and particularly in social sciences, which is being done under this regime. And now the next thing that has been thrown in our faces is autonomy, which probably might sound very fancy and might sound very progressive, but essentially it is clear license to dismantle this one, not just one institution, but higher institutions of higher education, which were affordable, where anyone from any background, from any socioeconomic background could go and could gain access to world-class education. Like my class, if I come from the best school in my city, there's also someone who comes from a village near my town. And we both are studying together today. That's a big equalizing factor. So the people of this country who right now are thinking that it is just a bunch of the students who are going and marching and who are sloganeering against this one vice chancellor, it is not only about us. Because if today people, media, the politicians, if today they don't come and support us.
Khushi, stay with us. I'm being joined by Sudesh Verma of the BJP on the phone line. Thank you very much, Ms. Verma, for joining in. What do you have to say about the way these protests are being handled by the police? We're seeing water cannons actually. I don't know if you can see on your screen the visual that we're showing at this point, the way water cannons are being used and the way the police are handling this entire situation. What is your, how would you like to respond?
You see, police must exercise restraint because they happen to be students. At the same time, you must understand that this is illegal protest. I come from JNU. I can tell you that we used to have a culture of debate. And debate used to be the way through which you could trace out our issues. If you have issues of differences, say for example, on the issue of Johari, the professor who is, accused of sexually harassing students, there is a judicial process. He's on bail. So if you feel that certain things should happen certain way, and this is the way to protect JNU culture, I'm sorry, I don't agree. You don't need to come on the street and create chaos in society. This is not giving good name to JNU. And there has been, an ideological clash going on in the campus. The new vice chancellor, who is not new now, and the administration, they're trying to impose some sort of discipline by imposing attendance, etc.
Right. Mr. Verma, Professor Johari aside, there is a much larger issue that the students have been talking about the way the administration is handling things, not coming out, not having dialogues with the students before taking decisions. They believe that it is an autocratic approach that is now slowly being used. That is the larger issue at play here as well.
No, it's not true. If you understand the structure of the JNU, then you must understand why is the vice chancellor there. Vice chancellor, after all, has to deliver on the front of administration. And if you say that sack the vice chancellor, we don't agree with the vice chancellor, you're not ready to talk, then how will the administration work? There is a strong ideological-based teachers' union that normally affiliates with the students' wing of their party. So this also creates a lot of problems in the campus. You see, maybe students are innocent, many students who are participating in the march, but at the same time this can be taken over by lumens and create bad name for the entire university.
Right. Right. I'm going to, Khushi, if you're still with us, would you like to respond to what Sudesh Verma is saying as to how he views these protests?
All due respect, sir, but then the point is, because you have been from JNU, I would really appreciate if we could rethink that, the kind of surveillance that is being put in place right now. Would you have joined active politics, and would you have been talking the way you are talking had you not been from JNU? For a lot of people, and especially women, JNU is the only place which gives us access to an environment which enables us to think freely. And the kind of surveillance you're talking about, if it was so bad, if, you change, there has been something in place for very long. There has been a culture in the university for very long. You displace it, you replace it with something else when something has been going wrong. Despite of the kind of accreditation that we have been getting, despite of being the best social science university in the country, why do you have to change it when there's nothing wrong? And if you're talking about it being an ideological clash, it's not that ideological clash comes from one side, right? Sadi dono haathon se bachti hai.
Right. So Sudesh Verma, just if I can just add to what Khushi is saying, this is something that, with several people who we've spoken to on this issue have been saying, who are several students specifically, that the fact is that there was nothing wrong with the way JNU was functioning, with the ideology it was following. And when there is nothing wrong with something, what is the need to come in and change? And this is the argument that has come from several students. So what would your response be?
One more thing. I would like to add one more thing very quickly. If universities are not supposed to make you politically conscious, if universities are not supposed to make the citizens, because when you enter a university, you are at that stage in your youth where you still have ideas, where you still have the freedom to be idealistic before the practicalities of life hit you. If universities are supposed to become apolitical, if universities are supposed to teach you that leave your ideas behind, don't give a damn about what is happening in the country, live your own bread and butter and live a corporate life or whatever life you want to live, a 9-to-5 life, then you really think, because out of these 7,000 people, even if 7 people come out and still remain idealistic and do work for the society, which a lot of JNU alumni has been doing. We also saw it in the farmers' protest which happened. That is the purpose of having a university. You really want to kill this place of ideas. Is that what you want to reduce your citizenry, your youth to? That they don't think.
Right, Khushi, let's let Sudesh Verma respond. Sudesh Verma, go ahead.
Yeah, I am responding to that. You see, if you are talking about JNU, I'm sure that you must be knowing about JNU. JNU has never been apolitical. JNU has always been dominated by left ideology, and of course there used to be ideological clash, but the clash was never seen on the street. It was seen in the debates. It was seen in the debates on various issues, how you want to save society. And the ideological clashes used to go on in the Ganga Dhaba. Late in the night also people used to debate in the hostel mess debate. That is the culture of JNU. I don't subscribe to the culture where people come on the street to solve the problems which can be resolved at the level of, negotiation and talks. And you cannot say that you are the Vice Chancellor. If the Vice Chancellor says something, Vice Chancellor is duly appointed authority. You have to give him some respect somewhere. You cannot say the Vice Chancellor should do this. I remember that the students' union had said that the Vice Chancellor will have to come and apologize. Apology for what? Is the student behaving like a mob or a group? Are you behaving like a student? And if some lumpens tried to create riot in this whole procession, what bad name you are going to give to JNU? Are you aware of this?
All right. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Sudesh Verma, Khushi, thank you so much for joining us and explaining both your sides. I think what you heard there between both Sudesh Verma and Khushi is exactly the point, the kind of issues that are creating this conflict and that are leading to these kind of protests. This is, of course, a side of the entire the case against Professor Johari as well, the entire ideological differences. That is exactly what is happening. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what happens now and whether the police were justified in using these water cannons and actually beating up students the way they did in order to control the protests.